Hello, hello, hello. Shifting some gears and playing some Hoops NBA Live 17 here. This is a game of my Minnesota Timberwolves franchise. But anyhow, I'm going to be talking about NBA Live 18. We caught our glimpse of it at EA Play. That was what, 3 weeks ago now? Time flies. Already July 9th, Madden will be out. August 22nd, that'll be here before we can blink. But anyhow, NBA Live 18. What do you guys think? Interested? Indifferent? Don't like what you see? Like what you see? Somewhere in between? We didn't get a whole heck of a lot, really. Unlike Madden, community people that were there were able to upload game footage from the actual game itself as opposed to this leaked cell phone footage nonsense that we've been dealing with as far as the Madden game is concerned. And it was all the same thing. They were all showing footage of either Cleveland versus Golden State, or they were showing footage of the Pro-Am mode. I think it's a Pro-Am mode. I'm not quite sure how that mode is structured, but it was more of a playground type of atmosphere. And observing those videos and also the comment section of the videos, the reception was pretty positive from what I could see. People seemed to like it, and the people who played it said some very good things about it. What I liked about it was that it was head-to-head user versus user play. It was kind of funny seeing guys just pressing up and just on-balling just so recklessly and getting blown by and broken down off the dribble at will. Um, that's just a part of how people play user defensive basketball games usually. But as I was saying, most of the reception was pretty positive. You're going to have the inevitable NBA Live versus 2K arguments, which I don't really understand. I don't think there's no reason why these two games can't exist in their own space, and people who have a preference for one play that preference, and people who have a preference for another, play the other one. Some people are going to like the player models of NBA 2K better than Lives. I actually like the player models of NBA 2K better than Lives. Others are going to like the control layout of NBA Live better than 2K. For me personally, I've always preferred the user control and the control over my player or players in Live better than the 2K game. That's always been the thing that has made 2K basketball just feel funky to me. I didn't really play 2K17 this year at all. I played 2K16 a little bit. I liked 2K16 when it first came out, but it was inevitably patched into oblivion, and I lost interest in it. And NBA 2K17, it had a absurd 12 patches altogether. I mean, that's just insane. So as long as Live has a viable game, I think they'll be just fine. There's plenty of space for both fan bases and for both games to do their thing, and you play whatever game you feel represents the type of basketball you want to play better than the other one for you. The pace of the game is going to be different. The way the players animate are going to be different. The control layouts are going to be different. The two games, aren't going to be alike. That's just ridiculous to think so. The only thing I was a little bit disappointed in was that I wish I could have seen more of how the 5-on-5 gameplay flowed, as opposed to what we saw, which was basically cut-ups of half-court possessions. But even with those half-court possessions, you didn't really get a sense of how the half-court action flows. You basically saw a bunch of three-pointers and drives to the rim, and people were freaking out about how easy it was to make those three-point shots. But the game was on Pro, so we know that, and I don't think that's going to be an issue. I play my franchise mode games on Superstar, and the players that can make shots make them. Guys who can't. You don't get a lot of surprises in this game as far as players doing things that they're not able to do. And really, things like player tendencies are done pretty darn well. The biggest challenge for this game is just animating in a more diverse way and in a more responsive way. User control, the manual control is nice to have, but the responsiveness isn't always there, and sometimes you're looking for your player to do something that the game doesn't have an animation for him to do. So you get some wonky movements at times and wonky shot attempts. And also, another weakness of this game was the fact that when you get into the paint, there's just certain spots on the floor or certain spots in the paint where you animate into a shot that is going to go in, 95% of the time. So really improve on those two things especially, and you got something. What I think would do Live some good though is I don't think having a lull of information and footage between now and mid-September is a good thing. I think if any game needs a momentum boost and a shot in the arm to, garner interest and build momentum, it's NBA Live. Especially with how badly this game was handled. NBA Live 16 had a demo that was really buggy. The game released really buggy, and they were way too slow to respond to cleaning it up, and it killed the game. The shame of it is that when most of the bugs were cleaned up and most of the updates were done, the game played pretty darn good, but it was, far too gone and far too late. They absolutely cannot have that happen again. The demo has to release, and the game has to release with really minimal bugs and flaws. We know in this day and age these games never release complete, so we know that updates are going to happen, but you can't have anything that's just glaring and game crippling happening with either the demo or on the release. The game will get lost in the shuffle and may not ever recover. So really, I think NBA Live 18 is a kind of do or die game for them. It has to be a real solid, viable game for people to play if people want to try something different, or if people don't really like 2K basketball that much. So, there you go. Love to hear what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will talk to you all later. Peace.
The Timberwolves got the win with a comfortable scoring margin. It was quite a display from long range, and I can imagine the opposing coach was very happy with how it turned out for them. Here are the guys who put up the most points for the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Nuggets didn't get the victory they wanted here today. And even though some of them smiled and shook hands with the other guys after the game, you can tell by the way they headed to the tunnels how disappointed they were about this loss. What you see here is how the majority of the points were scored for the Denver Nuggets.
Game track. 3-point field goal percentage.
The Minnesota Timberwolves were definitely the better team with regard to long-range shooting, and it turned out to be quite the advantage. Their three-pointers were unstoppable. This segment wouldn't be complete without a look at the game stats.
Player of the game.
Andrew Wiggins earns the award for his incredible performance here today. He couldn't be contained offensively, and he put on quite a show on his way to being the game leader in points. No matter what the defense tried, they just couldn't keep him from getting his points around the basket. He didn't let anyone keep him from doing what he wanted, including the opposing coach. Here are the top plays.
Number 3. Number 2. Number 1.
We call it league scores. Check out the latest from around the association. Here's a view of the Western Conference standings. And here we've got the upcoming games for the Minnesota Timberwolves. On behalf of ESPN on EA Sports, I'm Jalen Rose, and it's been our pleasure to present you with some NBA basketball.